But yeah, so awesome. We have Charlie here today, who has been a copywriter and creative director for, I think it's over 30 years now. Am I right?
That's correct. I have been a copywriter and creative director for over 30 years now.
Nice, nice. Okay, perfect. Yeah, and we have been working with Charlie for a couple of months now. I think it's over 6, if I'm not wrong. So yeah, I just wanted to hop on with him today, ask a few questions about his experience. He can share his honest thoughts as well. We can go from there. So Charlie, first things first, can you share a bit about who you are? You know, what type of work you're doing, your just a bird's eye view of your background, so to say. Because going over 30 years in this interview, I think it will be very extensive. So
Okay. Yeah, so I am a creative director and copywriter. I have over 30 years of creative experience. And a lot of, what I do today, even in my initial interviews with my clients, is what I've done throughout my career. I will take a look at a brand and try to understand what their story is based on how they look and the messaging they're giving. And often what I'll see as I look at a client is the disconnect that's happening between how they look and how they talk. And a lot of the work I do is around trying to align those messages together. Seeing which one is more important to my client too is really important. Um, we'll get in there and we'll just talk about things, and through that conversation, I get to know what their customer promise is, and they'll get to know what their customer promise is even more clearly. We'll get to know about their story. They have a story. Usually, they don't even know what it is. Usually, it surprises them. And actually, after an initial conversation like that, what I found is that there are a lot of conversations that happen afterwards. And that's been pretty much the story of my whole career.
yeah,
Just
no, and
sitting down with clients and talking to them about it.
I really resonate with the part where you said most people have a story, they just don't know it yet. I feel having that skill of figuring that out with people before you even get into writing or doing the creative direction or anything for that person, that's what creates the value for the people, right? Because obviously you can't do any creative work without people being aware of their story. So you first have to make them aware of that story before you get into the work, right? Um,
So important. I'm giving them something, and I'm also protecting, myself as a professional too. Once we agree upon what their story is, we both have something we're looking at as we're telling that story.
yeah.
They become the biggest advocate of keeping true to that story as much as me. And I need that. We need to have mutual buy-in. It's so important.
Of course, of course. Yeah, amazing, amazing. That's great service, and the fact that you've been doing it for so long, you definitely have the experience, right, to identify those stories in people. So Charlie, like before starting to work with us, what were the main challenges you were facing, more specifically around client acquisition and building your business?
The way that things work in the creative world, pretty much traditionally, is as a creative, I have my portfolio, um, and I have my network of people, uh, people I've worked with over the years, as well as whatever I uncover through networking. It's um, it's a very long, slow process, and one of the things I have found is that it takes probably about a good year, year and a half after stopping one gig and coming into another in order to really get rolling again. Um, just in building that network and being a part of things, it's an incredibly time consuming thing. And at the same time, I have to continue to try to make a living. Who has time for all of that?
Yeah. Okay. So for you, it was mainly just how long it takes to nurture the relationships with people once a client ends their contract. And then also it's the time aspect because obviously once a client leaves, it's not like you can spend 12 hours a day doing client acquisition, right? Because otherwise you wouldn't have any time to work for the clients. So
That's completely it. Yes. So there's just a whole when I there's a whole process that goes into a client acquisition that if there was a way to cut down on that time, the value to my company as a whole, I think, is probably tenfold. Uh, the less I have to do up front, even getting to that point of a lead, uh, that is someone who's interested in talking to me based on the experience I have, based on my portfolio, based on whatever it is, even a word of mouth thing, the less I have to do to get to that point, uh, I could just focus on the actual call and conversation we're going to have.
Yeah, yeah, and more time also to do the, your homework basically on the person and figuring out how to actually
That's
have that gig on the call. Um,
that's where I want to put most of my time. That's where most of my time needs to be. Because generally what happens on that call, I've demonstrated how thoroughly I know them and I've never even met them just based on their website, just based on some blog posts they have, just based on I actually probably know their brand at that point. Uh, in a way intimately, so intimately that it usually kind of blows their socks off.
yeah, yeah. Nice, nice. Okay, so that was the way you saw things before client acquisition, and in hopes to diminish that time you spend there. That's how we got in touch. So I'm also curious, what was your goal initially when you considered working with us? Like, what was your initial accomplishment that you wanted to get out of this?
I wanted to get my business to take off. I mean, I needed to have more billable hours. I really did. And the process of networking and networking, going back to old contacts was just incredibly time consuming. So my hope was that this would kind of inject some adrenaline into that process and speed it up for me. And that's exactly what I saw. I
So,
got I got to perfect my pitch, by the way, through the work that I've done with you guys.
uh,
I didn't
you mean
realize. Go
you
ahead.
mean the sales process? Just to clarify, what do you mean by pitch?
So I got to see. I got to. You know how we talked about how part of the value I offer is that I help people align their brands.
Hmm.
I got to know the value that I offer and really come to respect it more by going through your process, by actually having conversations with people that didn't go right, having conversations with people where I would get sidetracked into like somebody who was never going to be a yes. Um, I got to practice and really come to value what I was doing and how I could be of help to somebody. And that only came from the multiple different pitches that I did chased based on the leads that you guys gave. Your
Hmm.
sales process probably for me, um, I've done a version of it that's right for me.
Yeah.
Um, it's um, it's probably a little bit more soft, uh, and uh, and it's cool. I mean, what one of the great things about your process, I think, is that it can adapt, is that it's big enough to accommodate the strengths of the individual that's doing it. Um, uh, and it helps that individual come to know. It helped me come to know this is how I'm going to get people. This is how I hook people. This is what they seem to value.
Yeah, because like ultimately, whatever process we're implementing, whatever strategy we're implementing, if it's very stiff, that stiffness is what is not allowing you to get out of your own way to figure out the things you need to figure out, right? And it's the same with the creative work you're doing. What if you would follow us the same stiff process for every single client without going sideways with questions, without exploring other parts of their stories, you would never have the final product in place. So why don't we treat client acquisition the same, right? And that's why we've built it in a way where we can massage the process into every single person's desires, needs, type. Because some people like to be more salesy, as people would say. Some other people like to be a bit more technical, as others would say. So both are fine as long as you find your um, your alignment with the process that can actually get the prospect, right? Um, so what have been the key outcomes or wins you've achieved working with us? Let's go over that.
So key wins include a marketing agency that I have building over the past 3 months relationship, and we're growing. The relationship's growing very quickly. Um, I also have in different industry spaces have had great conversations with folks in the automotive industry, even in the golf industry. I had some really good conversations going on.
Mhm.
Just the ability to talk to the different industries that I have experience in, and working within those kinds of places. Even going back to our first target audience, I would say when we were talking about the tech industry,
Mhm.
um, I think even those conversations have come back for me. It's so interesting how the leads that I've generated through the different industries we've touched, if even if it wasn't in the short term something that was really successful, they seem to come back. They seem to actually, the financial industry that we touched, those folks continue to come back and talk to me too.
Yep.
And often at surprising times. A lot of this stuff is timing. Right now with one of my contacts in the automotive industry, I asked him, how come he set up this meeting? And he goes, honestly, I have the need, and your message appeared. So that's just exactly how, the, old core direct marketing practices are supposed to work.
Yeah.
If I had a list that could talk to people who had the need at that moment, I'd have the best list in the world.
Yes. What's going to be the total again with this one and the other client you have?
Um, yeah, I'm approaching 5K a month now.
Nice.
Uh,
Nice. And
yeah.
this is without the growth potential of the second one also. So,
Well, yeah, no, both of these are all about, you know,
Hmm.
I think Logical wants to engage me around 80 hours a month. And I want more of those 80 hours not to be his clients, but my clients. That's the
Mhm.
way I'm thinking about it because I just get a better cut on stuff. So it's going to be a race between us.
Yeah.
And and if I go over 80 hours with him and there is the potential for that, God bless, I'm okay. There's a very famous quote by a Roman senator named Seneca, and he talks about luck.
Yeah.
And his definition of luck is when preparation, I'm sorry, when opportunity
It's
meets
preparation.
preparation,
Yeah.
or when preparation meets opportunity.
One of those.
One of those, either way.
Yeah, we
And
get the
so,
point.
and so one of the things that your group has helped me do, and you continue to help me do, is prepare. You help me prepare, and you've helped me prepare by giving me the multiple opportunities. First of all, to hone my pitch, which I adapt based on whatever customer it is. Um, and that's just been phenomenal. And you're giving me warm leads every time. Every time I'm going to a pitch now, I feel like I'm telling a story that's resonating with the people I'm in front of.
Yeah.
And that's only because of the opportunities that I had through your group and the dedication of your group too. Um, my uh, my person who every day is reaching out on LinkedIn and fielding the no's, the yeses, the lack of response, and doing the next step that's after that. That's a part of the process. His dedication and work and his communication with me have been foundational. I mean, I'm even just like working out some thinking on different kinds of conversations that he's inspiring us to have. He'll get a comment back to like our our outbound script, and he won't know what to do with it. Not just us talking about it, and him seeing me how I respond to stuff is giving him ideas on how to respond to stuff. He sticks to a script, and I think that's really important. And we've had a lot of success with that. And it's his dedication every day that really makes that a success.
Yeah, yeah, and it's important, to remember that this person, this is why it's important to work with people, and again, like on this note, because we know everyone is so scared with AI and all of these other things going on, this is why AI cannot do the job, right? We can teach AI to do a couple of things. Sure, we can get help from it for our day-to-day activities from these other things, but ultimately it's still humans that have emotional intelligence to understand what you want, how you respond to things, adapt their own style to that. And that's why, it might not look like a lot and it might not matter in the front end, but if there is one conversation that your own specialist can save because they've been through the process with you, and that conversation becomes a client, that's when preparation meets opportunity, or whatever the quote is. So
That's right.
yeah.
Luck is when I think it's opportunity meets preparation.
Yeah, I'll have to check after it. And
My friend, no, it must be preparation meets opportunity. It has to be. I have
yeah,
to have that preparation in place first. And so that's why on these pitches, it's not luck. Because I
yeah,
have done prep work beforehand. I know the kind of research I need to do in that company beforehand. Before I even sit down with them, I know that now because of the sales, the dedication that I've had to the process that you've put forward, as I understand it, and the dedication of your team, including in working with me, including you. Our weekly calls have been invaluable to me.
yeah.
I always appreciate your sanity check. I always appreciate your experience, dealing with those. People are always going to be a no. Why do I spend any time on them? That was something you really helped me see. So thank you.
Yeah, no, you're welcome. You're welcome. And it's this is the most important part of the process. It's not even the messages or sending the messages. I mean, just doing the foundational and the groundwork behind that. That's what creates the success, I'd say, in something like this. And on that note, Charlie, I'm also curious, so now that we've talked about, your experience, the good things and everything else, um, just to end on this note, and then we can go into a couple of other things as well. So what impact had this win? So we know about the agency now that you mentioned the client in automotive as well. What impact have these wins had on your revenue and just on your business overall?
Oh, I've easily tripled my revenue, um, uh, and in every one of those, in the tripling of revenue, in billable hours, that tripling, there's also the promise of future growth too.
Yeah,
So these leads have been real profitable, potentially even more profitable leads. It's now in my hands in growing this. I
yeah.
feel very comfortable with that, given my network of people and given the people that I work with now too. It's been incredible. I can't even I I'd say I've been lucky, except I think Seneca's right.
Yeah, yeah, exactly, exactly. Awesome, amazing. Cool. So now on the other side, I'm also curious because obviously, we use the same approach to reach out to you. That's why we practice what we preach, right? We do the same thing to grow our business. So before working with us, because we were strangers back then, what were your main hesitations about doing this, about pulling the trigger?
Okay. I was terrified. This is going to sound crazy, I know, but I was terrified you were with the Russians. That's what I was terrified about. I was terrified that you were going to hack me and you were going to sell my information and I was going to be a
Really?
target. It was crazy paranoid stuff, but actually in America today, it's not crazy paranoid stuff. I mean, there has been a lot of between China and Russia, there have been a lot of attacks on our infrastructure. We're targets. We're targets. And, honestly, so I had that initial fear. And what really actually got me feeling more comfortable was when I took a look at what your approach was. I had to think about how come I am buying into this story? Like, why am I even considering this story that Dennis's group is telling me here? And you were following sound direct marketing practices that I have come to know over the years of doing work. in all different levels of advertising, all different kinds of advertising. Um, the fact that when we got involved, we were focusing just on copywriters. And then I saw testimonials from different kinds of copywriters who have had success with you. Uh, and one who I particularly resonated with, who was in a similar boat as I was in, who
Mhm.
had success working with you guys on growing his business, and seeing him and listening to him talk about you guys, I just felt a level of confidence that, and I just kept on digging and looking, digging and looking, digging and looking. And the more I dug, meaning like I liked.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's actually
I I heard you give a 15-minute pitch too on what you guys did. And I was like, oh, look at him. He's giving an example. He's giving, the price of a cup of coffee example.
yeah.
Oh, look, he's giving like this is like not gonna like it was really cool seeing a practitioner of a craft that I came to respect very highly.
Got it. Okay, so for it was basically just seeing, like, as you went through the process, realizing what it could do for yourself as well if you were to implement the same thing. Which is, and, that like the Russian story is funny, because I didn't knew it up until this point. Uh, but yeah, I guess I have to work on my accent or whatever, right? Because I'm not from Russia. So, but no, I get where you're coming from, and there's a lot of scams going around these days. And actually,
There are.
when people get in touch with our other specialists on LinkedIn, and on other places as well, they sometimes do have this fear of, being a scam. And sometimes, no matter how much proof you show to someone, they still don't believe it, right? And it just shows how far the world has come to a point of not trusting each other, you know?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but
One of the things that really threw me too was when I reached back out to you,
Mhm.
it wasn't you. I was like, wait a second. I didn't, and the guy came clean on that, and he spoke to his manager about it. And I mean, also, I thought you were someone local too. It's funny, I'm such an old school guy. Um, I thought remember how I insisted we have Zoom meeting in the
Yeah, yeah.
in our script, because I thought you wanted to meet in a coffee shop locally. That's what I thought was going to be
Okay, got
happening.
it. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I
I
thought it was a
remember.
little bit more organic too. That than yeah. And I actually, I don't know if you remember our process, but the first touch, um, where I responded and found out I wasn't talking to you, I went away. I went away for like a week, 10 days, and I was really kind of just processing. What the hell is this? I've never seen anything like this before.
Yeah,
Um, and again, it was just basically the fact that I recognized the practice you were employing and skill in which you employed it. I appreciate it.
yeah, for sure, for sure. And like the difference between, the freelancers we work with and us, right, is that obviously, like with me running this entire operation, obviously I cannot be the one behind the LinkedIn, behind the
Of
meet,
course not.
know? So it's funny how, just because we work with freelancers, I've heard people say this multiple times that they would expect me to be a freelancer as well, right? But the main thing we're trying to do with this business is to show freelancers that they need to start thinking a bit more like a business owner. If they don't have to be a business owner, they don't have to run a huge company, but they need to start taking decisions like one, because that will inevitably get them to where they want to get, right? And in
Yeah.
this case, with working with us and you specifically, it was mainly delegating your prospecting to someone else, right? So that you
Yes.
can't do with it anymore. Um,
Yes.
but yeah, cool.
And with him, I believe we have maintained the illusion that he's me, which I
Yeah,
appreciate. He's making me seem very energetic.
yeah, yeah, for sure. And you are very energetic. That's he's doing a great job at that. Um,
He is. He really is.
Perfect, perfect, Charlie. So, two more things, and then we can wrap up. I would just want to ask, like, to like close this bubble of our service and everything else. What would you say to someone who is right now on the same page you were with testimonials, with the video and everything else, that is on the fence about working with us?
I would say, if you find yourself in a place where you're in a position you never thought you were going to be in, uh, where you're having to begin again in a world where you have a volume of experience and incredible creativity, and it's amazing to you that you find yourself in this place without without uh, without a huge network of prospects just falling into your lap, which was crazy to me too. I couldn't believe how difficult it was for me to even get people from my network to. I mean, I was getting those. I was getting intros to places. I was getting, I was looking to get a full-time job again.
Mhm.
I was open to all that. If you find yourself in the place where you just don't know which way to go or what you're doing, having a process like this in place for you, have a process in place for you where you actually uh, have somebody helping with you and working with you on getting you leads that are actually from people who are interested in what you're doing and what you have to offer, which is what the initial pitch, which is what the initial pitch sets up, right? You're
Yeah.
just you guys. What we do is we put me out there. I'm a creative with over 30 years experience, and I'm going to help you, um, with your deliverables. I'm gonna make them, stronger and better than they've ever been. I'm going to help you tell your story in a way you didn't even know to tell it. We're just putting out what my customer promises to a variety of people that there's no other way I would get to know them. Uh, and we're using lists to do it. We're doing uh, uh, basically we're applying what smart companies do to me, the individual. Why wouldn't I be worth that? Why shouldn't I do it like that? That's the way it works. I know it works that way.
Yeah.
And you guys gave me that way in. And you who are lost and don't know what to do next, this is a step forward and this is a path forward. And you will be able to build and grow a business through employing these tactics, through working with this team, this dedicated group of people. And they are dedicated to your success.
Nice. That was a very nice speech. I didn't know you were a public speaker as well, on top of being a creative director. Uh, but no, appreciate it, Charlie. These are some amazing words, and I'm happy that me and my team have been able to deliver this to you. Um, Last thing that I want to ask before we wrap up here, what excites you the most about the future? So now we've achieved these results right now. We've got these clients, you're working towards building that relationship with them forward. What is the next step? What excites you about the future of having this system in place?
Well, I think, one of the things, it's great to get clients, but just like any business, I always need to have new clients in the pipeline too.
Yeah,
I'm going to have attrition at some point. I'm going to need just to fill the pipe again. And to actually have this stream going for me, I'm ensuring that kind of pipeline being there for me, though that kind of resource already being in place for me. And I just got to keep on respecting the process and giving it the time that it needs.
yeah, for sure, for sure. Awesome. Well, thanks a lot for your words and for your time, obviously. Charlie, this has been an amazing interview, and yeah, that's pretty much it.